Alright. The world, or the crochet world, or maybe the knitting world, is blowing up with the Sophie scarf? Sophie hood. I kind of think that the Sophie scarf is kind of ugly, at least in my opinion. I know it's supposed to look like a croissant and it looks better rolled up than as a scarf because I'm just like, what am I going to do with this itty little bitty thing around my neck? Maybe it's a fashion statement that I don't understand, but the hood is something that I can get behind. I love me a hood, love me a scarf, and you combine the two and you're like, wow, I don't have this extra body piece that I need to wear just to keep my head warm. So right now, I was digging through my stash because I don't have a lot of knitting needles. I only have 2, and this is my biggest one. It's a size 4 knitting needles that I got in Japan that I think is a 3.5. When I was doing a little bit of research, the patterns were all telling me use a medium weight yarn, a DK weight yarn, or a size 3, which calls for a 5mm needle, which I don't have. So we're just gonna have to hope that 3.25 is enough because I also needed about 400 to 600 meters of yarn. And given my history with yarn tricking, I didn't want to play with too little yarn. And unfortunately, all of these are like 418 yards when I would rather hit 500 to 600 because I think I would rather a hood with a bigger scarf as opposed to a hood with a smaller scarf, which just isn't my vibe. Ultimately, I think we gotta land on this one because I measured it and I have about 250 grams of yarn, which to me seems enough. I have noticed, however, that there is a lot of controversy about this pattern because to me, it does seem pretty simple. Mind you, this is coming from someone who has not knit in a very long time, so I might be speaking out of my ass for how easy this is. I did hear that the hardest part is actually keeping track of your rows. We have our first frogging of the episode because I am piecemealing instructions together. You're supposed to increase every 6, 7, 8, 9 rows depending on how fast you want your increases to come. I just finished row 7. So now I'm on row 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I hate frogging on knitting because, especially when you're following a pattern, I don't know how much I frog. Not it's not as easy as in crocheting where the pattern is easier because you only have one loop. There's 6 or 7 or 8 that I have to go back into, and I never know if I'm going in the right direction. I know that knitting takes a very, very long time, but it has been about 2 hours, maybe a little less, and we have we have a little flag. Whee! I keep forgetting if I actually changed my little row counter, but we're still going pretty good. I think my tension as someone who hasn't knit for a very, very long time is pretty good. Like, there's not a lot of major holes. And the colors are starting to change and it actually looks really, really good. The only thing that is keeping me like sane during this entire process, where I think most people might have been struggling with, is this tiny stitch marker. This is kind of your basic. It goes from 0 to 9 on both sides, and you can keep track of your rows or stitches or both. It is right at 3 right now. And every time I'm at 3, that means that if you put a stitch marker for your wrong side, or to me, this is the side where I increase, when you have an odd number, you should be on this side. We are probably at like a little more than a foot at this point, and it's looking really good. I will say my I-cord tension could be a little better on the increase side. The I-cord on my straight side, like the one that's not increasing, fantastic. On my other side, and there's a little bit of like some pieces are bigger, some pieces are smaller. I am calling it end of day 2, and we have 28 rows, or no, sorry. We have 28 stitches and we started with 6, so we grew 22 stitches, and 22 times 8 is 176. So I can't believe we've knitted 100 17, how much did I say? 22 times 8 minus 1 is 16, 16, 176, 175 rows. This hood was really it's really a project where you kind of start disassociating because yes, you had to kind of keep track of the increases. I found a system that does work with my increases, but I was really just, I've like lost track and at some point I stopped increasing. But good thing that it was at the width that I was supposed to be. And also I had so many more stitches than, the 45 that you're supposed to reach with your hood because 45 was not how much I needed to get 9.5. I actually have 58 stitches to reach. I don't actually know how wide this is, but in my last video, I made the crocheted version of the Sophie hood, and this is actually the exact same width. Let me show you. So same how this hood is straight in the front and then curves down in the back. My needle is actually not long enough to hold all the stitches, so some of it is popping off right now, but it is the same width as the hood right here, which is really nice. And I can't tell you how long that is because right now I don't have a measuring tape, but I know that it is the perfect length for me. Because look at this hood. This hood is literally perfect. So just to backtrack a little, let's put my stitches back on before they start popping off. The way that I started keeping track of my increases instead of writing it down or having a row counter or whatever, if you are making the medium and you're increasing by every 8th row, each ridge is like 2 stitches or 2 rows. So you have 1 ridge, 2 ridge, 3 ridge. And then once you are back on this side of the stick and you know your stitch marker, this is the side that you're increasing, you have 3 and like a half, so that's your 7 rows between your last increase and now you're golden. That's how you know it's time for your next increase.
You can say I lost my mind, I will keep on holding my head high, even if the sky is falling down.
We are back with the latest and greatest scarf. I have gone up to the vertical portion, which I think, since I don't have the pattern, I'm kind of guessing. I did it up to a certain width. To be honest, I started doing the straight portion of the scarf, and I think I'm at a point where I can start decreasing. Based on the crocheted version, I know that it was like every other row. It was the crochet version went from top down instead of like bottom up. So the top down, it increased every row and then every other row, and then it went straight. So for this, since it's such a thin yarn, I think to match it, I have to do maybe every third or fourth row for a little bit and then kind of steadily increase the rate of decreasing until I decrease very rapidly and then I get to the very top. I forget that I can do this every single time I make anything, but I have a hood here and I have my project that I'm trying to mimic roughly the size of the hood because, you know, this hood is good and all. You know, it hoods. I think this hood is a little baggier than what the scarf is intended to be. So I might just do a couple, maybe like 4 or 5 more rows of straights, and then I'll start doing my decreases. I also definitely knew this already. This is kind of giving me random hopes that this is actually enough yarn, but it's really just covering the massive gaping hole in the center because I started with 225 at the beginning. I'm not even halfway through, and I only have 57 grams left. I'm kind of over buying Michael's yarn just because I've been trying to get just higher quality yarn. We have 12 rows of decrease every 4 rows, 12 rows decrease every 2 rows, and then 12 rows decrease every row. Hopefully that works. Also, oh goddamn. So when you get to a certain portion of this pattern, you only do the I-cord on one side because if you do on the other side, that's the part that you're sewing up in the back. If you have an I-cord in the back, it looks really weird. But I obviously didn't remember that all the time, and I definitely have a section. Oh my god, that little. I was already like 30 rows past. I wasn't about to go. I wasn't about to go back and frog it, but we're close. I am ready for this to be done. I have a separate update and I am so happy. Yesterday I got a delivery for a Frank. We don't have a Frank that lives here. I bought something off of eBay and it I guess it was secondhand. I believe it was secondhand, but I got my first set of actual needles. And I'm so happy that these are metal because my needles, I'm pretty sure I've only used them for this project, and I'm pretty sure because of the tension, these are already a little bit slanted. I think you can tell. I'm glad that my my project is now long enough to actually support, you know, the actual project itself instead of squeezing everything in the middle. The girls started passing out at 8 p.m. these days, and I woke up at like 12 a.m. Worked on this for 3 hours. I was slowly accepting the fact that this much yarn does not equal the rest of this. I'm scrounging my collection for any yarn that might be a good substitute because so this is what the colorway looks like, and you might not really be able to see it in this light, but it's slightly like variegated, I think you call it. It's not ombre, it's variegated. You can definitely see when you look at the hood, you can see like the variations in color. So what do I have here? This is some amigurumi yarn, which is a similar weight and I think a very, very close colorway. Oh, it's not fuzzy at all. You can definitely tell it's a different texture. So my other option is something also slightly different texture, different material, but also very similar color, is this fuzzy yarn I used to make a different scarf. So a little pinker hue does have a little more fuzz and speckles than this one, but this one might be better. I don't want to switch between 3 different yarns. Like if I go from that one to this one to this one, then that would be really, really obvious. Because honestly, I don't think either of these are going to carry me to the end. You know what? The color is not doing bad. This little fuzzy addition to this scarf is doing pretty good. You can kind of tell. I mean, on camera, oof. But it's not too shabby. I'm okay with that. I think for the most part, you're not looking that closely anyway. You're mostly looking at the hood. This is probably going to be like the side profile, and I think I can hide that a little when I wrap it around. I'm going to wrap this first so I can cover it up with this side. So it's going to kind of be like, I'm going to wrap this first, and then I'm going to hide it with this. You see it? Ah, this looks so good. This looks great. But we're going good. I really hope that this is enough for this.
So I like to get 8 rows every decrease. And I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
But I have 80 more rows. Do you think there's 80 rows of yarn in this thing? I really hope so. Honestly, if I have to switch to this yarn, it's not the biggest change. There's a little bit of gray in this portion anyway. It's whatever. That's crazy. I'm really just scraping the bottom of the barrel right now. Okay. We are about 95% of the way there, and I just want to share one last update before I finish this up because this has been a journey. I think I spent about 5, 6 more hours this morning just wrapping this thing up. So we basically have a finished piece, but there's a few things about this. Like it might look pretty good. You will notice 3 things immediately when you look at this. 1, I had to use not 1, not 2, but 3 extra balls of yarn that I had lying around. These 3 balls are all from the same other scarf project I had. It's from the same ball of yarn. I separated the colors, and now it's become this, which doesn't look too bad, honestly, when you wear it. think it actually looks pretty cute. Like, this is how I would probably wear something like this. And this is, I can already tell it's warm. It's not bad. You don't really look at the colors. Maybe that is not great, but whatever. It's not too bad. I am going to block this, and I thought that this fuzzy yarn was very similar to the Karen Blossom yarn. Problem is, and I think my decreases were fine. When you line it up, you get this situation going on. You can tell that the back is a little wider than the front. How do you know that the decreases were actually correct? Is because these end at the same time, but the width differences kind of start at where the yarn changes. But still, that is a crazy difference in width, which no one's really going to look at. It's just a little annoying. So I'm gonna block it out a little bit, and I want to try to make the color changes a little less obvious. So what I'm planning on doing is I'm gonna take a cat brush. It's the brush that you use to get loose fur out of your pets, and I'm gonna brush the side out. And hopefully that decreases the difference between the colors. I really hope that this doesn't backfire on me, because once I use this, there is no going back. I'm gonna be honest, that was actually a little scary because I was afraid of going at it too hard and breaking the threads, and I feel like I saw some of the rows and whatever just, you know, I thought I saw some of the rows pop out a little bit. It is fuzzified. I don't know if you can tell, but it is definitely a lot fuzzier than it was before. We're finally done. It only took us like 2.5 weeks. Definitely didn't end up exactly like I was hoping for, but I think if I do something like this is pretty cute. Leave one side on the back, leave this on the inside. It makes it a little less obvious that there were yarn changes. But I'm going to bring a little bit of hair out, and we have a finished hood. Now, for this being my very first project, I will say successful-ish, like a 7 out of 10 maybe a 6 if I had maybe a 7.5 if I had the right yarn. But I think it looks pretty cute. Maybe I could have gone with a darker color. This looks pretty light now that I think about it. Let's say this was actually hoodless. That's actually pretty cute. That I like. Now you can see like the contrast. Oh, actually this feels pretty nice. I am glad that this was my first project, I guess. It was easy-ish. Definitely something that I think if you're a beginner, a good starter project. I am so happy to be done with this. I forget how slow knitting is, and my poor pointer finger, I kind of rubbed it out a little bit already, but there you can see like a slight darker indent in my finger where the needle keeps poking. But yeah, happy knitting. Peace.